Check, check. What is up? This video is for my buddy Dave. Hey Dave. So I'm gonna show you Reaper, and I'm gonna show you some sources for some free plugins that might help you with mixing. So first things first, I'm gonna find Reaper, the icon, and check this out. I'm gonna right click on this, and I'm going to pin to start. Or no, sorry, down here. Pin to taskbar. And then boom, it's right there all the time. Whenever I want to open it, I just click it. So, here we go. Reaper is very, very advanced. I love it. Before we go in there, I need to pull up some files so we can actually mix something. Let's do one for you, buddy. Let's do resistor. Alright? So now check it out. One of the most important things that you gotta do when you have like a bunch of files here, like they're all something different, like these are all my drums, and then God knows what these are because I never named them except for bass. So the best thing you can do is, let me see if I could find. The best thing you can do is kind of name your files properly first thing. So if you take a closer look here, that doesn't help. Alright, I'm going to arrange these by type. Okay, so these are all of the tracks for the song Down Man. I name these specifically so when I drop them into Reaper, they're always in the same order, right? So I named this 07 because it's track 7 on my album, and then I put a space there, and then I just labeled each drum track. So I've got kick, overhead left, overhead right, snare bottom, snare, the room mic, floor tom, the rack tom. So then every song is, all the tracks are named the same, so then when I go and I drop them all into Reaper, they all appear to be in the same order. So like then the bass comes next, and then see 07X guitar is my shit, 07Y guitar was John's shit, 07Z Vokes. So then so then it all goes from left to right. You got drums all the way down to vocals, and you don't really have to mess with it. But we're gonna do resistor, and that one is not properly named. So I'm just gonna highlight every track from resistor. I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna set it like right up here on the left where there's nothing. If you just drop your tracks in, click this button, separate tracks. Here we are. It all kind of looks the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit these minus buttons. I'm going to zoom it all the way out. Look at the whole song. I'm going to hit this minus button and squish them all down so I can kind of get a good glimpse of everything. But they're still kind of all over the place. Like, so the thing I like to do is hold down the shift button and then like start over here, and then I'm going to select, while I'm holding down shift, I'm going to click on the room mic, and so now I got all these tracks here selected. These are all my drums. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to track color, and I'm going to set tracks to one random color, or set tracks to one custom color. if you want to pick your color, but I like random's fine. So all my drum tracks are now blue, right? Um, these ones named mono, I'm pretty sure these were John's. Those were John's tracks. So I'm going to set his to a random color. He's pink. I'm going to set the bass to a random color. It's too pink. I'm going to do it again until it looks different. That's good enough, whatever. And then these must be something that I recorded. Oh, I remember how we did this. I recorded the vocals at home, so these would be my vocals down here. I'm going to set this custom color. I'm going to pick like a bright green. There, those are my vocals. That's my bass in red. And then I remember all these pink ones, these were mine and John's tracks. So here we go. We're like, you can kind of make out what's what when you look at it now. And there's one more thing I want to do, because this is kind of important and it helps out a lot. If you select all, well, hold on. If you go up here to track, we're going to insert a new track. You can see it here. There's nothing on it. It's totally blank. We're going to move it all the way to the top. We're going to hold down Shift again. We're going to select all of our drum tracks. And we're going to kind of, you'll see this little blue bar. When you see this blue bar move a certain way, hold on. Yeah, you see that? When that blue bar, it's like we're dropping all of these into that blank track. So now you see here, all of the drum tracks are bused to this one bus. So now, once I get the mix, like the volume and the compression and the EQ and all that stuff on each track that I want, like once I get these sounding exactly the way I want them to, and you know, they're panned and everything, you can take this track and you can solo it, or you can mute it. It'll mute your drum tracks. It'll solo your drum tracks. You can put plugins on, you know, the entire drum bus instead of, you know, like say everything needs a little bit of compression. You put it on the drum bus instead of each track, and it saves your computer a lot of trouble. It's good for consistency. If you know, if the drums need a reverb, you could always put a little bit of a reverb on the bus. So you can see how that kind of makes a difference. Alright, so next is kind of, alright, we could do things like this. We can zoom in with this plus button. We can move our little marker any which way. You can see that like it's stuck on a grid. If you don't like that, you go up here into these buttons, and I don't use all of these buttons up here, but you go right here on this one, grid lines enabled, turn that off, and now you select the track anywhere you need to, right? So let's say I got like some noise. This looks like some noise here. I'm going to solo that. Let's play it. See, here comes that noise. Ah, yeah, you heard that? It was like everything just clicked off. So if I want that out of my mix, I select the track, right? I can make it bigger if I want. Here we go. So I select the track right around here. I don't like that. So I'm gonna, where my marker is, I'm gonna hit the S button. And what I did is I just split it. So now I'm gonna get past that noise. I'm gonna hit the S button again, and now I just have this section. If I hit delete, it's gone. Right? Let's say that this missing piece is too abrupt. Look at my icon here. Down here, I can slide the track. I can bring it back. I can take it away. But up here, the icon changes. That's a fader. So now I pull the fader in, and I can just fade that. See? So now I cut the noise out. and there's a nice fade on that, so it's not just a click when it turns off. So that's one, like, those are your friends. The S button for splitting and the shift button for selecting, right? If you hold down, ooh, shit, what did I just do? Edit, undo. Okay, if you screwed up here, go up here, go to edit, undo, right? So, but yeah, hold down shift to select whatever you want. I can select tracks. If I hold down shift, everything from here to here, I can select this track, hold down shift, it'll leave this one alone. So there's a lot you can just do, right? And I'm using a mouse, like a mouse with a wheel on it, like one of these old school, like it's got, you know, clicks. I'm not using the touchpad on my laptop. So because I have a mouse wheel, I can make things, I can zoom in and out real easy. If you don't have a mouse, you have to use these things down here, the plus minuses. Okay, so right now that track that we worked on is soloed. I'm going to unsolo it, and let's just hear this song completely unmixed. I can't just go in here and turn the volume knobs up and down and pan it left and right and expect it to sound good. I need to do things proactively. So I'm going to pull this thing up here, and you can see there's a whole bunch of little segments, and they're split top to bottom, right? So up top, I'm going to select my snare track, for example, and I click this box. So now you see these are my plugins, right? I have this option selected because these are probably the only plugins you have right now, which are the built-in Reaper plugins. But you can see you got plenty to work with. You got compression, you got delay, you got EQ, you got a gate, which it'll turn the volume, it'll turn everything quieter than a certain volume completely off, which is good for like room noise or whatever. You've got a pitch shifter. You've got an auto tuner, if that's your thing. You've got reverb. And you got a couple other things. I'm not really exactly sure what they do. So, you know, if you figure them out and you like any of them, tell me about them. But, so these are VST plugins, which is going to be important to remember shortly. So we'll put the EQ down here, and you can see it's pretty basic EQ. I'm going to solo it. Let's listen to the snare. Now, I'm listening through some shitty headphones, but you can do things like turn some of the low end off, pull that up. You can adjust some things down here. It'll show you like the size of your curve. Like if I pull this one down, then I can see like wide curve, the thin point. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit of a crash course of what Reaper can do. Beyond that, it's kind of up to you what you want it to do for you. Now down here, we could get really, really complicated with this, and I can show you just kind of an idea of what I'm talking about. Now if we insert, I think it's another track. Yeah. Insert a new track. There it is. I'm going to take this all the way down to the very end. And I'm not going to I'm not going to put any of my instruments in it and make it into a bus. I'm just going to leave it an empty track. And I'll show you why. I'm going to put the reverb on this track. Alright. Let's see. I don't know. This is some random preset. It probably sucks, but what I do is I'm gonna send everything on the song, like every track in the song, in the mix, I'm gonna send it to this reverb channel, and I'm gonna do it down here in these little bottom things. So if I click on the reverb, since the reverb is going to be receiving all of these channels, we're going to go over here to receives, and we're going to add receives from all tracks. And so now you can see, alright, I want to name this so I don't get confused. So if you, right here are the names of all my tracks, and you can see it just takes on the name of the file that you put in there, which is why I like to get in the habit of naming my files what they are, because I got snare, kick, rack, tom, whatnot. I know what those are. These I have to figure out what each one is. Some of them are my guitar tracks, some of them are John's. I don't like that those are still named like that. So if I wanted to, I could double click this and rename it in the program, but then I would have to do it every time I work on this song. Anyway, I'm going to double click this, I'm going to name it reverb. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and now you can see up here all these buttons on each track are all named reverb. So now it's probably going to be way too much reverb, but I'm going to play it. Now what I want to do is, these are like little volume knobs, right? Actually, I'm going to, because that's the whole drum bus that had the reverb. It was like each track has reverb, so if I put reverb on each drum track, and then I have it on the bus as well, it's double reverb for the drums. So now the idea is to turn it down. Pepper it in slightly. You don't want a whole bunch of reverb on the vocals, because reverb is going to make the vocals sound like they're further away. If you need to add some kind of spatial sound to a vocal, it's better to do it with delay. Delay makes it sound like it's far apart, but it's still without too much reverb on it, you know, it doesn't sound like it's super far away. You want a lot of reverb on things that are super far away, like the room mic could use some reverb, so I'll turn that up a little bit. But only to like -11. See, these numbers here, you don't want everything where it's at right now. See, like most of my tracks, they're peaking up at 0, maybe even clipping. So you want to kind of, even if I mixed everything super loud like this, I'm going to want to turn it down on the master fader before I actually print. Anyway, okay, so we got overheads. See, now the overheads, I already know this one goes left and this one goes right. But now I'm going to add the reverb. I'm going to pepper that in. I'm going to put all these overheads in the room like up around -11. And then, what else could use a little bit of reverb on the drums? You know, so we add some stuff in here. Each tom gets a little bit of reverb. The snare gets some reverb, but not too much. Maybe it does get a lot. I mean, it's really a matter of your taste. The kick doesn't get much, but you can put a little bit on it just because it is in the same room. And we are trying to create a room with this tiniest bit of reverb. Some of these guitars, I'm only guessing. But you can see, okay, so now I'm using the effect that's on this empty track as a send. So now I don't have to put reverb on every single track. Like you'll see with your computer, if you put plugins, if you put the same effect on every single track, and you don't need to change anything, it's all going to be the same effect, like reverb. It'll start to slow your computer down really quickly, and that can get really frustrating when you get way into a mix. Over here is going to be your master track. You can put plugins on that too, like compression, you know. Compression, you know how that goes. Over here, I'm going to turn this down. Actually, I'm going to unmute everything. With the way it sounds, you go over here to File, you save your project, you save it as something, but then you go to Render. Go to Render and it pulls up this thing. It asks you where you want to save it, what do you want to call it, and then what format. So you want a WAV format. WAV is lossless. You know, it makes for a big music file. But if you did an MP3, MP3 is probably fine in most cases, but you know how it goes. Like when we're making something and we think it's quality, we want to print a WAV file. We can go back and make an MP3 later, but the WAV file is going to be the best possible quality. So you do that, you make sure that it is a stereo WAV file, if that is your you know, if that's your desire. If you want to make a mono file, feel free. I mean, it's your fucking world, dude. Then when you're ready, you hit render, and right now it's just gonna print to my desktop as untitled, and then it looks like that. And honestly, that's not a bad looking waveform for not really mixing anything. There's not a lot of clipping. You can see there's still some dynamic range. Here, let me show you what happens when, I don't know, let's say we made something that was just too hot. Let's render it again. It's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it. Yeah, I do. So now you can see this is too loud. it cuts off all of those nice little waveforms, and it's just one big wall of sound. And that's a problem. That's going to sound really shitty. Alternatively, if you make something that's a little too quiet, it might look like that. And that is actually not the worst thing, because you can make things louder, and you can, that is about what you would want to send to a mastering process. That might be a little too quiet for mastering, but you can see here, like, it's -7. What do you call it? Negative. I don't know. Whatever they measure, decibels. Yeah, -7. You want to send, before you master something, you want it to be right around -4. So that might be a little bit too quiet, but you can see that's going to sound too quiet. The other one's going to sound too loud. This one is just about right. So that's Reaper. Now you could do some other things with some of these tracks. If you need to print, like, let's say all my recordings are a little bit fucked up. I got some stuff that's too loud. I got some stuff that's too quiet. You can see here. Excuse me. This track's a little too quiet. It could use a little thing called normalization. So I'm going to hit Control A, which is select all. I'm going to right click all these tracks. I'm going to go to item processing. I'm going to normalize items. Now you can see everything is the same loudness. Let's say for some weird ass reason I wanted to save each one of these tracks. I could go up here, render. Instead of source, master mix, I can do stems, selected tracks, and I have to make sure all of these are selected. And I have to keep in mind that any of the plugins that are on any of these tracks are also going to be printed to these new copies. But it should stem selected tracks, bounds. No, that's not right. Hold on. Oh, selected media items. Now you can see down here it's going to say render 16 files because it's going to print each one of these tracks on its own for me to go back and use later. But I don't need to do that. I'm just showing you how, like, all of this shit that this program can do. It's ridiculous. Again, most of these buttons I don't use. I know this is a load new project, open, save your project real quick if you want. Project settings. I mean, so go through and look at some of these things. I know you can record directly into this if you really, really wanted to. So you go to track. Actually, let's just start all over. Let's say you wanted to record something directly into this. I'm going to insert a new track. I'm going to press this record arm disarm button, and you can see there it's picking up what I'm putting down. If I wanted to record that, there it is, man. It's picking up what I'm putting down. I'm going to press stop. It's going to ask me if I want to save it or if I want to delete it, if I want to rename it. That might be a good habit to get into. But if you play it back, well, first I'm going to take it off of armed recording. Play it back. Record that. There it is, man. It's picking up what I'm putting down. So you can definitely record directly into Reaper. And if that's something that you want to give it a go, maybe it'll work, man. Maybe it'll work really, really well. I don't know. All I know is that I kind of need my console for, like, some of the microphones and stuff that I prefer to use. But if you could, if you use your console to just run like a headphone jack out from your console and into your computer somehow. Um, and if you're able to record it like that, try it. Maybe it'll do its thing. Um, so that's Reaper. Let me show you a couple things over here. If you go to Google, if you search best free VST plugins, you're gonna get an endless recommendation, dude. There are websites upon websites that have free plugins. If you don't like the way that your gate or your EQ or your compression, if you don't like the interfaces, Google search some free VST plugins. You can download them. I'm going to look at the 200 best free VST plugins ever, and it'll tell you all about them. So now I don't go for synths. I don't really use synthesizers. They are instrumental synthesizers, you know. So I go looking for effects, VST effects. That's what we want. Alright, so now we've got like a chorus here that if you want a chorus, you can download this, you can install it, and you can try out the chorus. What do we got? This is a VST compressor. If you like the way that looks and you'd rather play around with analog style knobs instead of that digital shit that Reaper gives you, go looking for some free VST plugins. There's one that I like in particular. It's called TAL Tube, TAL Tube, by Togu Audioline. It looks like this. It is just a little tube distortion, and I use it on all kinds of stuff, and it sounds really good. It'll take kind of a boring sounding drum track or guitar, and it'll add some harmonics, and it'll make it a little noise. You can make it distorted as hell if you want. You could just use it to add a little bit of, you know, saturation. So go looking for free VST plugins, and if you have any questions about Reaper, dude, let me know. I will talk to you real soon.